in it, Mitri writes, "For God's sake, dear sir, if you value the glory of God and the salvation of your soul, give up protesting against the Catholic Church. In it alone you will find salvation. As sure as God lives, it is the true Church of Christ. May the day of judgment be, for me, the day of God's eternal vengeance, if the Roman Catholic Church is not the only one true Church and immaculate spouse of Christ. May my soul be doomed to suffer for you to all eternity, all those torments which you would deserve by following all the pretended superstitions of the Church of Rome." Later he says, "The Catholic Church teaches that Jesus Christ established but one church for the salvation of man, and that out of that one church, salvation is not to be had." So he made an explicit appeal to this Protestant on the issue of the dogma of salvation outside the church. So he knew what had to be told to these Protestants. And the result of this book was that many people who came upon it converted to Catholicism. So he won a lot of converts. Some of his polemics circulated around and got broad coinage and brought people into the church. Not only this, but the other two books that he wrote as well. So we have a man who is a pastor of souls, one who sacrificed his own fortune for them, put himself in horrible debt so that they could have a vibrant Catholic community in the Allegheny Mountains here, but also as a scholar and as a real man of science and learning, would use all of his gifts in that area for writing a superb piece of literature. I mean, the writing itself is beautiful to behold. He was very well versed in the Fathers and obviously in Holy Scripture as well. And he was able thoroughly to write this Protestant scoundrel that said all these things. Now, I said he spent 41 years among his flock. You can picture him as an old man. He was toothless. He was very strict with his people, but also very lovable. He'd serenade them as they were coming back from the fields at night with his clarinet, which must have been funny to see a toothless old man playing clarinet. He was very cultured. He played the violin himself alone by the fire with only his dog to share the beauty of his violin playing with him. He had an accident, and he fell off his horse and suffered from a double hernia, which eventually would kill him when it was strangulated. And from that point on, he lived a couple of years. His sole means of transport was to be taken around in a sled, which was drawn by two horses, with his black mastiff always trailing along behind him. And the sled was ridden in summer, winter, spring, fall. I mean, it didn't matter. He didn't need snow to go around in the sled. It's a very odd appearing character. And he died the week after Easter. He had gone through Holy Week and had basically exhausted himself and driven himself to the grave. And he actually said, "I want to die like a worn-out old horse cart. That's how I want to die." And he was pretty much that. He was a worn-out old horse cart when he died. His cause for canonization has been introduced by the Altoona-Jonestown Diocese, and he will likely be raised to the altars one of these days. Some interesting little bits of trivia about him. Not his first, apparently, but his second biographer was Sarah Brownson. Now, Sarah Brownson was the daughter of Erastus Brownson, great Catholic apologist of the 19th century. So it's interesting how these great Catholic influential people of the area sort of came together, you know. Brownson was very interested in Father Gallitzin and went to investigate his life, meet people who knew him and so forth, so she could write this book. There was also a 20th century Prince Gallitzin who converted and became a Catholic. He was definitely from that same Gallitzin family. And he was aware of his great uncle's conversion to Catholicism. And he wrote, in defense of his conversion to Catholicism, a pretty interesting history of the Catholicity of the Russian Church in its early days and so forth. He was defending the fact that the Russian Church, by every right, should be Catholic. And also, he had a cousin, a distant cousin of some sort, who was Mother Gallitzin, who was the right-hand man, so to speak, of St. Rose Philippine Duchesne. So she was a Madame of the Sacred Heart who worked in this country. So the Gallitzin family has given us some other apostolic souls as well.
What year did he die?
He died in the year, he was born in 1770, he died in 1840.